My pop's Winston Hill. His passing is what drives me to be as strong as I can be. He was a giant among the men of the world, and I only hope to be half the man that he was. He was my motivator and strength while he was around, always pushing me to be better, to be the best. I will not fail you, Dad. I will drive to be stronger, faster, the best in your eyes. Every time I want to give up or throw in the towel, I think of you. My father showed me many things: how to tie a tie, how to throw a football, how to treat a lady, how to shave, even though I don't do much of that anymore. You always think you have one more year, one more day, one more minute with them, but then you realize one day that they're gone, and you wished that you had taken more advantage of whatever wisdom or time that they could have given. I loved my dad, and if anyone actually read through this, call your parents, both of them if they don't live close. Tell them you love them, and take advantage of any time you can with them. And with that being read, I want to welcome you back to the 127 Fit podcast. Today's guest is a fitness enthusiast, cosplayer, mentor, motivational speaker, and super nerd. Today's guest is Marc Hill. Marc, I want to welcome you to the 127 Fit podcast.
Thank you so much, Quentin. It's good to be here, man.
Absolutely. It's a pleasure to have you. And again, I just want to thank you for kind of taking the time out of your busy schedule, Marc, and doing this last minute. It's cool to be able to connect with like-minded people, and I know we're going to have an awesome conversation. So.
Absolutely, man. I appreciate you.
Sweet. All right, so Marc, we're going to just kind of jump into a little bit of a warm-up. And I just want to ask you, is there a quote or mantra that you live by, or is there a favorite quote or mantra that kind of just continually plays through in your mind throughout your life and each day?
It's a quote that I put at the end of most of my Instagram posts every time, and it's just keep pushing through. The reason being is just because life has a tendency to get a lot of folks down. And if I have the opportunity to, I want to be able to always be able to push through. So day in, day out, you have to be able to, have your feet hit the floor and just continue to push through whatever kind of, problems that you might be having, whatever kind of qualms that you might be having with the world, and just get to that point where you're always pushing through. Eye on the prize, eye on the goal. So it's just something that I like to put at the end of my post because somebody might need to hear that on a day-to-day basis. So absolutely, that's my quote. That's
cool.
My mantra for sure.
Now, Marc, has there been, and we all have a lot of different things that we have to push through in life, but if you don't mind sharing, has there been one kind of big or giant hurdle or obstacle that you've had to overcome, or as you like to say, push through that you would like to share with the listeners and myself?
Well, absolutely. So the past 4.5, 5 years has kind of been a little bit difficult just because of the loss of both of my parents. It kind of got me down. It definitely made me down and out, honestly. Job wasn't going well because of, the feelings I was having. Obviously abandonment issues, those types of things as well. So I recognize that, people lose their parents, people lose people close to them all the time, but what continues to make them push on. It was difficult, man. I had to, talk to therapists, had to talk to friends, had to talk to a lot of folks on how to get over that hurdle. Because like you read in the post, you always think you have more time.
Right.
You always think you have, another minute or, another text message, another phone call with that person. And then all of a sudden for that to be gone is something that's just super difficult to get over. And I don't claim to know what other people go through when they lose somebody close to them, but I know what I dealt with.
Right. Now, if you don't mind me, asking and just digging a little bit deeper in this, because I know that this is why I love interviewing people, and that's why I love the platform of podcasts and starting to talk about people's backgrounds and things that they've gone through, because as you and as other guests share, that's going to connect with other people.
Absolutely.
So what was I just kind of want to get into inside of your mind a little bit when in the short period where you lost both your parents, like what were some of those thoughts? I mean, was it to the point where there were suicidal thoughts, and if so, just mentally as a man, as a grown man, how did you work through that? What, like, I know you said you had to talk to some people. What were some of the basic steps that people can kind of take that you took if they're kind of struggling with some of these maybe suicidal thoughts, or just like the anxiety and depression, all that, if you don't mind sharing, Mark?
Absolutely. It definitely was to that point where there were some dark days, thoughts of suicide, thoughts of like, hey, what else is there to live for? Talking to someone is key.
Right.
I grew up in a household where I was definitely a manly man. My dad was born in the 40s, in the South, and dealt with, of course, hardcore issues when it comes down to civil rights and all those types of things as well. And then, playing professional football in the 60s and 70s, there was still, of course, a lot of different issues that he had to deal with then too. So talking to someone is key. Being that manly man, or a woman that is trying to stand up for herself, a strong, independent woman, sometimes that isn't enough. And being able to break down in front of a stranger that you can talk to, and I mean, I've cried plenty of times in front of therapists about this situation, has helped. And recognizing that I needed that help in the first place was the first major step. Getting to that point of being able to just go in and talk to somebody that you don't know about issues that you feel might be trivial to them. They hear about issues on a day-to-day basis, but being able to do that and get those feelings out, or write in a diary, write those feelings out on paper, that helps out. And getting past that macho phase, because obviously I'm deep into fitness, and it's always about that facade of being as strong as possible on the outside, but on the inside you might be crumbling.
Absolutely.
So that is a key step. Talking to friends as well, family members. I did a lot of burning bridges when I lost my parents. Not to the point where I was doing it on purpose, but I was just like pushing people away, because I was like, I'm dealing with this issue, you have yours, I'll deal with this on my own. Trying to be macho once again. Getting to that point where I was like, I need people in my lives. I need to be close to people, whether it be a significant other, or friends, or family members. I had to get to that point where I would be able to talk to them relatively easily. So that is just, if we get back down to it, to the nitty gritty, talking is sometimes the most helpful. And I know it seems very, very trivial to be able to just have a conversation with somebody, but that conversation might lead to a lot more, deeper seated issues that you didn't even know you had in the first place.
Yeah. Now, you mentioned, as you were sharing there, you had mentioned something about writing.
Yeah.
Was writing also a big part of that? And then is writing still a big part of your life to today?
Absolutely. So I have a diary that I just kind of write in. Like, maybe I try to do it daily if I can. If not, I try to write in it weekly, and come back to that feeling of, okay, yeah, things might be going wrong. It feels like the world's crumbling all around you. What are you thankful for on a day-to-day basis? And it could be something as like as small as like, I'm appreciative of having my dog in my life, or a roof over my head, or food in my belly. And it's things to be thankful for when it all seems as if the world is completely dark and, like I said, collapsing around you. So it would just be like, what happened in that day, how I was feeling, what my mood was, things that I would be thankful for, things that I'm angry about, things that I'm passionate about. So it could be on a day-to-day basis. There was no set thing that I would write in there. It would just be what I'm feeling at that point in time. So being able to write and then see the words and read back through those words when you were having some of your darkest times and be like, man, I'm in a better place now, was definitely something that was important to me as well.
Awesome. I really appreciate you sharing that, Mark. And for me personally, I know I tend to keep to myself a lot. And I don't share a lot with a lot of people.
Yeah.
That's a choice that I've made in my life. But I know for me, writing and getting those deep inner thoughts and feelings and emotions out on a piece of paper, for me is just like, once I do that, it's like, okay, I can release that and I can move on. And I love going back 2-3 years later and just kind of, I try to date most of the stuff that I write and just kind of see where I was at. And it's just, I can't put it into words, but for me, it's writing is a powerful outlet. It's a release, and I really enjoy it and love it. And I think, this is something I want to touch on too, because, I consider myself, a man's man. Both of us got the tattoos. We're, fitness guys, and with that outer, I don't know if I want to say facade, but just that kind of that outer look to the normal person, a lot of people will have kind of like those preconceived ideas or notions about us, like, hey, this guy is a jerk, or he's arrogant, all that stuff, and have I been that in the past? Absolutely. Do I still struggle with being probably a little arrogant and all that? Absolutely, and that pride and all that. But I just want to touch on kind of that man's man thing, because I know that both of us consider ourselves that, and again with the tattoos and just the fitness and focusing on our physiques and all that, it's very important to us. And so like the writing, the arts, and all this different stuff, you generally speaking, like, you don't really put arts and kind of a man's man together. But for me, I've found that like the writing and just kind of being confident in my more sensitive side, like it's so freeing for me. So have you found that maybe through this process of your parents passing? Have you been able to, maybe get into a better touch of kind of that more sensitive side and just and maybe more of the feminine side? Because we both have that masculine and feminine side. Obviously, males usually have more masculine than feminine, all that. But just, do you understand what I'm trying to
I definitely do.
talk about there?
So when it comes down to it, I've always been, we kind of touched on the subject when you were introducing me. I've been a nerd for a long period of time.
Yeah.
So, and it's not to say as if there's any negative connotations to being a nerd when it comes down to it. But when I was overweight, I was 290 pounds. And, I was into comic books and video games and, obviously the cosplay aspects of going to Comic-Con and those types of things as well. Fiction novels, sci-fi, all that sorts of stuff like that. When I started to lose the weight, I didn't let the gym or that macho facade change who I was. And that's why, like you were saying, people judge us by our cover because they see us walk in a room and they obviously all of a sudden just assume, okay, I see this person's cover, I know exactly what they're about.
Right.
They're about the gym. They're about probably, treating women horribly.
Yep.
All they care about is one single thing in life, and it could be the sex aspect of going to the gym and looking better for the opposite sex, or it could be just that macho facade that you want to carry around that nobody should be messing with you. So when people actually get to know me who don't know me, and they are like, oh, wow, you're into cosplay. Wow, you go to Comic-Con every year. You're into fictional novels. They see my library, and it's mostly fiction, sci-fi, fantasy novels, comics, all sorts of stuff like that. And then they're like, oh, okay, so your cover definitely doesn't match who you are as a person. they hear me talk and they're like, oh, you're soft-spoken. You're not one of those people who's like just trying to always bark at people all the time, constantly be the loudest person in the room.
Right.
And then they start to recognize that I like to make people laugh, or I like to make people happy as much as possible. So that aspect of trying to stick to that macho facade when you're somebody else, it could have negative connotations on your psyche.
Absolutely.
We kind of touched before we started this interview about being on stage when you're doing like a physique show or a bodybuilding show. It's you against the world out there, and then there's the negative connotations of body dysmorphia, and you're never good enough, and you didn't win this time, I'll win next time, or my diet wasn't good enough, or I wasn't posing well enough. And then there's so many other different aspects of your life.
Absolutely.
There's so many different things that you should be worrying about rather than that. So back to the main point, getting in touch with that side, or staying in touch with that side, has been very, very important to me. So when my parents passed, I started to delve a little bit deeper into, doing the cosplay and, dressing up and doing those types of things. I started to recognize that, working with foam and with leather and, making cosplay weapons and all that sorts of stuff like that. I just picked it up. I picked it up and I did it easily, looked at some YouTube tutorials and started doing that type of thing, and started to recognize this is something I'm actually very talented with. And this is a nice outlet for me, something to make me, forget about, and not forget completely about what I've been going through, but something to help me get over that hurdle.
Cool.
Rather than just fitness itself, but other things in my life too.
Right. That's beautiful, man. I just think it's so important for all of us to have, that vision and passion in our lives, and then to pursue with everything that we have, and to be well-rounded human beings. Because I know in the past in my life, I've gone so hard in one direction, and it's just like, for me, and it was kind of the bodybuilding fitness thing, and it's just, it just caused so much anxiety and so much just crazy thoughts, because that was my life, that was my everything. And at one point, sports was everything, but sports ends, and it's just like
a lot of self-doubt.
There's so much more to us than, I said this last week in my podcast, but LeBron James, because of something that our president had said, he's come out and kind of has this push and campaign for more than an athlete. And I think it's beautiful. I love it because, LeBron James, yes, he's an athlete, and that's kind of where he's gained his notoriety and platform, but he's more than that. Right. And for us as kind of like normal people, and maybe you can speak on this too because your dad was a professional football player, but it's like as normal people that are watching athletes, like that's basically all we see, that's all we know, but there's more to those people. They're dads, they're husbands, they're business people, and so I think it's just beautiful for all of us to really spend that time finding out what our passion is, what we're passionate about, and just, testing and exploring and trying different things and meeting new people, because you just don't know all the time, like, what your gifts are and your talents are. And if you just do the same thing forever, it's like, well, there's more. Yeah. There's a lot more.
There's a lot more. There's a lot more than being, stuck in a box of just like fitness 24/7.
For sure.
And people that I train, and a lot of other folks that like approach me about that subject. It's always good to be something besides that. Fitness will be there. Don't get me wrong. It's always going to be there. But what happens when you don't win that stage show? Or what happens when, you have a really, really bad injury? What do you do beyond that?
Right.
Is it going to be the end of the road for you because I can't be in the gym today, I'm very, very upset? Or are you going to be able to move on and, do something else for the time being while you heal, or while, you try to get better for the next show?
Right.
So I try to make people realize that, yes, fitness is an absolutely amazing outlet, but it also can lead to a lot of other things as well.
Cool. All right, so I want to take a little bit of a step back, and because the introduction reading was something that you posted a while back on your Instagram about your dad. Yeah. So I just, Mark, want to kind of get a better understanding of your upbringing, and then if you don't mind talking about your mom and dad, and then just I really want to focus on your dad and kind of bring it back to that introduction reading, because from that reading, It seems like your dad played a pivotal role in your childhood and then you being the man that you are today. So
Absolutely.
if you don't mind touching on kind of where you grew up, some of the family stuff, if you were involved in sports, and then let's maybe just transition into focusing on your dad,
Right.
sharing maybe a little bit of his story,
Absolutely.
and then we'll just kind of move on from there.
Absolutely. So let's just start at the beginning for me. Actually, grew up here in Colorado. I played football from 5 until 18.
Okay.
Just because obviously dad being a professional player, he was always pushing me to do that. And not in a negative way. He always wanted team sports to be pivotal in my life just because of the sheer fact that he knew it helped in other aspects of life as well. Now, when I did start, playing football as a kid, I was a skinny kid, really tiny, but dad wanted me to play line. When I was playing Pee Wee, which was the dumbest thing ever because I was playing up against like kids who were double patches,
Right.
like big kids. So I finally came into my own, started playing linebacker, defensive end, those types of things, a little bit more of a quicker position. And so, like I said, played until 18. I wanted to play at University of Miami. I got into University of Miami, but I did not get a scholarship. Okay. So, probably the most expensive college in the country when it comes down to it because of private school kind of costs. So, stayed here in town, switched from football to rugby throughout college, just kind of played it here and there. Really liked rugby. Still don't understand most of the rules because the rule book is probably one of the thickest rule books on the planet. But it kept me in team sports, throughout my college years as well. Really enjoyed the guys that I played with. So, just kind of stuck to that. And then so dad's upbringing, like I was saying before, he was born in Texas, Gladewater, Texas, back in the 40s.
Right.
Back in the 40s, obviously, African Americans were going through a lot of stuff in the South. Mm-hmm. Dad grew up in a very Christian household. His father was a reverend, Reverend Garfield Hill. Built his own church with his own hands. Definitely a very strong black roles in his life.
Right.
So went on to play at Texas Southern University. Played tennis at Texas Southern.
Wow.
Played up against Arthur Ashe. Played
Wow.
against a lot of really great people. Dad was a little bit skinnier when he first started playing ball. Throughout high school and college. So, tennis was still there. He was still going to school and playing tennis and everything like that, but football was kind of in the background. So, after college, he was drafted by the Colts. Played on their practice team for I think it was about a half season. And then was dropped by the Colts and then picked up by the Jets, and then played with the Jets 63 through it was 77.
Okay, wow.
Followed Joe Namath to the Rams, LA Rams, and then went up to the Buffalo Bills and retired with the Buffalo Bills in 79.
Wow.
So a long-standing career.
Absolutely.
Most consecutive games out of any New York Jet ever. Most consecutive Pro Bowls out of any New York Jet ever. And we're still fighting for him to be into the Hall of Fame, just because we feel as if, he deserves it.
Yeah.
He was a lineman, blocked for the blind side for Joe Namath. So lineman and the AFL mixed together makes it for a little bit harder to get into the Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
Feels as if writers and other folks that are the voters for the Hall of Fame kind of skip over the backbone of the team, especially if you have the record that my father had.
Yeah.
So him playing pro ball, me not being able to see it, but him being a strong male figure in my life drove me. Yeah, I might have had some really hard days where he had me pushing his 1977 humongous Econoline van up a hill for training during the summer months, or the two-a-days during summer, or always going up to Joe Namath football camp from 7 years old until 17. Football was just a pivotal part of my life. It was something that was just a pillar that I always was constantly in. It just drove me to be a stronger individual, and so did my father, just because his religion was it was a keystone in his life. Being African American in the South in the 40s and 50s and 60s, main thing that was a mainstay for a lot of them was their religion.
Correct.
And it carried them through some very dark times as well, and that just carried over to Dad being who he was. Wasn't a drinker, very straight edge. He had the NFL lights and Broadway Joe and like wearing fur coats and cars and women. He'd been with my mom since he was 20, or actually no, he actually met my mom when he was 17. He was actually the lifeguard at her pool in Wichita, Kansas. And they met each other then. Mom was 14, Dad was 17. They got married when Mom was in college. I think she was 21. That's when they got married. And it's just fairy tale from there. Obviously, I don't know about the bad times that they might have had, but they stuck it out. And that leads into what you kind of read in what was on my Instagram post. He taught me how to treat a lady as well. Mom was his queen, was somebody that he always constantly fought for. And in modern day, nowadays, what we deal with when it comes down to dating and everything like that, it's so easy to just move on to the next best thing, or that FOMO aspect that we all talk about. Always being like, well, red flag. I definitely want to move on from this and move on to something else. And we don't see 49 years of marriage anymore. We don't see people who are, fresh out of college, getting married or staying with that person until they feel like they want to get married. There's a lot of dating for months at a time, then moving on to something else because you didn't like the way they snore at night.
Right.
Don't like the way they laugh. Can't get over certain things.
Yeah.
Back to the point where it's just, Dad taught me how to treat a lady. My facade might be a big, tattooed, bearded guy who looks like he might not treat a woman properly, but that's always super, super important to me.
Yeah.
Most of my relationships have been very long-standing ones, 7 years, 2.5 years, years here and there.
Yeah.
I like to stick it out if I can. So Mom and Dad, their relationship was something that kind of molded me, and how Dad treated human beings, and my mom, people he didn't know, people on the street, homeless people, at-risk youth, because he worked with kids in juvenile detention, did ankle bracelets, those types of things for him. That molded me into who I am now. Soft-spoken, definitely kind to anybody and everybody that I meet, and also, I like to make people laugh. And
right.
That was Dad too. He was kind of a joker too. In any aspect of his life, he was always trying to make people smile. So that rubbed off on me. Just a great upbringing, having both parents in my household. When a lot of my friends, they had a lot of divorced parents, going to their dads on the weekend and those types of things. And I saw how it affected them, and sometimes they would be sad about that. So I count my blessings.
Absolutely.
That my parents were in my life as long as they were, and I was able to learn from them as well. And they were old school. I was a Generation X baby. I was adopted. So I was adopted at 6 months old. Because my parents had 2 daughters, and they didn't want to chance it on a third daughter. So
They wanted a boy, huh?
They wanted a boy. Dad definitely wanted a boy. So, I was adopted, and I was a Generation X kid, but raised by very, very old school parents. They definitely taught me a thing or two, and that kind of makes me stand out compared to a lot of other men that I know.
Right, awesome.
Very long story, not short, but that's definitely where I come from. That was my upbringing.
Cool. And I appreciate you sharing that because, again, it's important for myself. It's important for the listeners.
Yeah.
As we dig into who you are today to know kind of where you came from and what the upbringing was like, because it's an important aspect of who we become as we grow up and become grown men and women. So let's transition a little bit, Mark. So you went off to college, and then kind of what did the years after college look like? And then if you want to just kind of move into where you became 290 pounds and kind of how that happened, and then let's start transitioning into kind of the mindset where it's like, hey, I don't want this life or this lifestyle anymore, and then let's just continue to down that road.
So college was here in town. I went to Metro State, so freshman 15 turned into sophomore 20, turned into junior 30. It just kept on going on, and it was because I played rugby. Rugby is just a very, very camaraderie-filled sport. So win or lose after a game, it was always like get a keg, get a barbecue going. Hey, good game, guys, even though we lost today, or a great game, you guys killed it out there. So constantly eating and drinking, and then of course long hours staying up for studying and everything like that too, led to me gaining a lot of weight. So 290 pounds, maybe about a year and a half, 2 years after college. I was in a very comfortable relationship, long-standing relationship at this point in time. It was like 6 years in. Sleep apnea at night, bad back, bad knees, out of breath if I'm walking up stairs too fast, struggle getting in and out of a car because of, a belly. I decided I walked past a mirror one day at my parents' house, and I was just so disappointed in where I'd come from. And I remember where I had been and being so not even fitness driven, because I wasn't even really in the weight room. I was just playing, ball constantly.
Right.
Every off season, it was always drills and going outside and running any kind of drills I could, and push-ups and sit-ups and all sorts of things like that. And then getting to that point where I walked past that mirror and I was just so disappointed and I hated myself. I know a lot of folks that I've trained in the past, they've gotten to that point where you look at yourself in the mirror and you're like, man, I hate you right now. I hate what you've become, and you have so many health problems. Man, how did I get here? And so it just switched off right then and there. I was like, it's time to change. Started asking the girl I was with at the time, she had a brother who was into MMA and he worked at a gym. So I asked him about diet and exercise. And so the first 6 months was just me starting to lose weight.
Okay.
And it was just diet related. It was all diet related, just eating better. Low fat diet, drinking a gallon of water a day, sleeping better at night, those types of things. And then 6-7 months later, I coupled that with going to the gym. And then I started to notice more pounds shedding off, gaining muscle. And I always tell folks too, it's easier to go from fat to buff. It's a lot harder for any of my clients that I train that are skinnier to gain that muscle mass, and gain that weight at the same time. So I was able to shred down, and I was driven. I was so driven. I was in the gym constantly, 6 days a week, 7 days a week. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to go out for a fitness show. I'm going to go out for a physique show. I'm going to see what I can do. At that point in time, I dropped down from that 290 down to 190.
Wow.
Maybe about 2-3% body fat. Definitely, you can tell in my very, very old Instagram post from back in 2012. And so, I was driven, all natural. It was all just diet, exercise, sleep. Just the main 4 things. You drink your water, you sleep at night, you eat your good food, and you're in the gym. That
Absolutely,
was it. It was your 4 pillars when it came down to it. And did 2 shows, 2 stage shows They like to say they're all natty shows. I know I lost out to 2 dudes that were on gear.
Yeah.
I'm not mad about it. It's very prevalent in the industry.
Absolutely.
A lot of people are very open about it. And they like to say it's an all natural show when you're looking at a dude who's 21 years old and been putting a needle in his butt, and you're just, it's beyond you. So I got to that point of after losing the second show, even with opposing coach and a dietitian that was helping me out too, I was like, why am I paying money to be judged? And it was definitely not a healthy feeling. Even though I looked amazing, I didn't feel I looked amazing. That body dysmorphia started to come into play, and I started feeling like I was not in the best shape that I'd ever been in. And I started to let self-doubt creep in at that point in time. Something switch off there. So from switching off from being heavy to losing all that weight and being in incredible shape, and then switching off from stage presence and stage shows to I want to be as strong as I can be, humanly possible, like as humanly possible within my means. I want to be as strong as I possibly can be. So I started to put on more weight, muscles started getting larger, started putting up better numbers. And then I started to say, hey, I want to start affecting other people's lives. I want to start being able to work with people who have been where I'd been. A lot of clients, I got my NASM, and I started doing personal training, on the side from just my normal job. I started wanting to be able to affect people day in, day out. Instagram, of course, at that point in time was starting to kick off. It was 2012, 2013. So I started posting more, and everybody else on the planet wanted to be a fitness model too. So what made me stand out was actually being able to just affect people face to face. And so I wanted to have that presence in the gym that people could approach me. Even though I might look menacing, and this was before I had my tattoos, before I had my beard, and then, started moving on to just being able to touch people's lives one at a time. So, fast forward to today, I've moved over to kind of trying to do strongman, and try to be as strong as possible, like powerlifting, those types of things too. Have not done any competitions as of yet as far as that's concerned. I'm still just trying to be the best that I can be in the gym.
For sure.
Social media has a little bit of a standing on a lot of people's lives nowadays. So that's why a lot of my posts are trying to be as positive as possible. Whenever I'm training a client, I tell them, hey, you need to get rid of all those folks in your feed that act like, hey, I'm all natural, I'm doing this, and they're not even posting anything about their fitness or what they're doing or what they're trying to do to affect people's lives. And they're just posting vacation pics and shirtless pics and those types of things, instead of being like, hey, this is what I'm doing in the gym, this is what you need to be doing as well. And social media has a negative connotation on a lot of folks because they're always trying to strive to be that person.
Correct.
Instead of watering and cultivating the grass that's under their feet, they're constantly trying to look over that fence because the grass is always greener. Instead of being happy with what they have and cultivating what they have and trying to make their body better, they're trying to look like somebody else. I want to be like that. Or I want to be strong like that. I want to get numbers like that, instead of being like, hey, I want to be the best person I can be. I want to be the strongest person I can be. I want to be the biggest person I can be. I want to be the happiest person I can be. And it moves on to other aspects of their lives besides fitness as well. To being, a ray of hope or a shining light in people's lives because you started out in fitness. So it's that FOMO aspect again. The social media is a great platform for being able to get a message out, but a lot of people nowadays are vicariously living through social media and through that little square that they see. You don't even read the message, you just see, oh man, that person's in Bali with their shirt off, they look incredible, or this person has an awesome car and they're doing it through their online training program. Or, oh my gosh, look at this. This girl is getting, humongous deadlift numbers. I'll never be able to get to that point.
Right.
Got to cultivate the grass that's underneath you. And that's now what I'm trying to focus on, is cultivating what you have. Awesome. Don't focus on anything else. Don't focus on anybody else. Focus on yourself.
For sure. And
that's the story that I've come to now.
And I think, touching on the social media thing, people have to realize that just like everything else that becomes popular,
Absolutely.
people are, it's a business.
It's a business.
It's Instagram, Facebook, Snapchat, all these social media platforms, like people that have big followings and stuff, and even people that don't have big followings, like, you got to realize that it's a business.
It's a business.
And that's the direction that business in the world is going, is social media.
Right.
is an integral part of business around the world today, and it's only going to grow because of the accessibility with the smartphones and the internet. And people have to realize, like, these people that are taking the pictures with their shirts off and in front of the Lamborghinis, a lot of times, Mark, that stuff's fake.
Yeah,
it's not their Lamborghini. It's not their jet. It's not even their six pack. I mean,
they're not all natural.
It's crazy.
They're not, they're using Photoshop. And I started following this guy named Kenny KO. You might have heard of him. He's on YouTube.
Okay.
And what he's doing is he calls people out. He calls people out. And he's not trying to be a jerk or a dick about it. He's calling people out because he wants regular Joe Schmo in the gym or Jane in the gym to recognize that, yes, they're using Photoshop. These people who say they're all natural are not all natural. They're using fake weights in the gym. Like, we're going to such extreme lengths to have clout.
Right, yep.
To have clout, instead of when somebody walks in the room being like, oh, there's something different about that person. Yeah, instead of being like, oh, I've seen that person online, I know there's something different about them.
Right.
No, just to be like, wow, that person's really quiet, but there's something different about them.
Right, yep.
So I started following him, and that's what's kind of changed my mindset. Instagram, Facebook, all those things are here to stay.
Absolutely,
and
100%.
Until the end of time or the end of the internet, or when the next apocalypse happens, they're here. That's how people make money. If you are out there hustling, I am not knocking what you do. You're making more money than I do doing something that allows for you to be able to travel the world and have a Lamborghini in your driveway or BMW. That's great, but don't fake it.
Yep.
Don't fake it. Don't let these normal people on a day-to-day basis think that you have done this through super hard work,
right?
Or you didn't have investors. This was all your money in the first place, or that you're all natural when you're putting a needle in your butt. We know what the human body looks like when it's done naturally.
Correct.
We remember what natural bodybuilders used to look like. They don't look like the people nowadays.
For sure.
We get it. Just say it.
Yeah.
We don't care.
Yeah.
The fitness industry is full of it. They're full of SARMs. They're full of HGH and testosterone boosters and all those sorts of stuff. Just say it. Just say it. You don't have to lie about it. We understand that people can't look like superheroes through your normal everyday workouts and supplementation.
Right.
So that's what I've come to, and I try to just get that message across that. Yeah, it's great to have those people in your feed because you're like, I really, really want to strive to be like that. But you got to cultivate, once again, that grass that's under your feet.
Yes, I love that message, man. That's powerful.
Absolutely.
So I just want to touch on a little bit when you were 290 pounds, and then when you began this journey and this process of losing the weight. It sounds like at one point you lost 100 pounds, which is amazing. A great feat. What did that do? And not getting to the competing on stage and the struggles there, but just that process of like, I'm 290 pounds. You start taking the right steps in the right direction every day to lose the weight and all of that. What did that do for you as a man in regards to your confidence, Mark?
Absolutely. Getting to that point where being 290 pounds and then starting to lose the weight. Confidence definitely started to go through the roof. I had never been one person to go, I used to not go to Waterworld or, go to the pool or anything like that because I didn't want to have my shirt off in public. And then getting to that point where, I was even, I had a shirt on when I went to sleep at night.
Right.
I was so embarrassed about, my body that even by myself I was embarrassed. So getting to that point where I was like, wow, the confidence started going up and more. And then people would comment on, at the gym, wow, man, you're putting in work, you look incredible, or anything like that. The confidence definitely started to go up. Hearing it on a day-to-day basis of like, man, I see you putting in really hard work in here. And you're looking great. Are you going out for a show, or are you doing this? And then, then getting the people who are like, man, you can't look the way you do without putting a needle in your butt.
Right. Yeah.
Getting to that point where I was like, oh man, people think I'm not natural now because of hard work.
Yeah.
It was such a confidence boost, but I didn't let it change who I was. I didn't want to be that guy who was just like a total douchebag, outside of the gym, or that the gym was the only aspect of my life. Don't get me wrong, the gym in the past 7-8 years has been a very, very big mainstay. It's
Absolutely.
been a pillar in my life that's kept me on track. That's been the one thing that has constantly been there for me. But I still have the same friends. Still have the same folks that I used to go to Comic-Con with. I hang out with all the same people. And we're a ragtag bunch of dudes and girls that do D&D sessions, or have a video game night where we're just in my house playing games for 5-6 hours at a time. I didn't want it to change who I was as a whole. I'm still the same person, just my exterior looks a little bit different. Yeah.
Very cool. So, and then that confidence that you gain through this weight loss and getting dialed in regards to fitness and your body image, I'm assuming then the confidence not only built within the gym and at home, but then also throughout the rest of your life, just every day living life, that confidence spilled over. Is that correct?
It is. I'll be honest, for the longest period of time, I was still that fat kid at heart.
Okay.
So I did not recognize that I looked the way that I did. So, if I was attracted by, if I was, looked at by a girl and she's like, wow, you look incredible, I still wouldn't believe her. I'm like, no, you don't know what you're talking about.
Right.
I was still kind of struggling with that mentally, to be like, I look completely different than I used to. So that kind of crept in for a long period of time, and a little bit made me a little bit more humble than I would say a lot of other folks in the gym, because you get that cocky attitude.
Absolutely.
A lot of times that comes across, and I have that every once in a while, but then I remember back to my beginnings. And how I got into the gym in the first place. And I remember what it felt like to walk in the gym and be overweight. And I remember that. I was like, man, everybody's looking at me, I can't be on the treadmill for too long. I'm sweating too much. And then I remembered back to that, and that's what made me humbled a little bit more. So yes, there is that confidence that's there. It's in the background, but I'm still, I try to be as humble as possible. Because I remember the beginnings.
Yeah, humility is very powerful.
It really is.
It's very, very powerful. Knowing who you are and being confident in that, and knowing that you don't have to prove yourself to anything or anybody, and just walking in that confidence, walking in that humility is something that I have learned and am continue to learn, that it's very, very powerful. That's when you walk into a room, there's always going to be one or two people that are the loudest, talk the most. But I've found, Mark, that the person that is very quiet, they're usually taking it all in, they're analyzing, they're thinking, and those people usually are very, very humble, and usually they're the ones that know the most, they're the smartest, they're the most confident, they're the most, everything. And then when they speak, because they're quiet and there's that sense of humility, their words are usually very powerful because they've thought things through, and it's not about them. It's not about being the center of attention and look at me and all of this. It's just like, hey, I know who I am, and then when they actually do speak, it's like, man, that's some powerful stuff, because there was thought behind their words. A lot of times we, as human beings, we're just regurgitating, we're just speaking, we're just talking. I feel like we live in a culture where we're addicted to talking. We're addicted to, hey, look at me, look at what I'm doing, look at how great I am. So that humility in life is, I know for me, something that I have to really strive for every day, because I fall into that very prideful, arrogant, look at me person.
Right.
And so just walking and practicing that humility it's a very powerful tool in the toolbox for a human being. So.
Absolutely. And I mean, I learned that from my dad. My dad was, he was playing ball. He was like 6'5", 375 pounds, a big man. Had a presence when he walked in the room, but he was the quietest out of anybody. And all the Jets used to say that about Dad. He was so quiet, but man, you could talk to Winston about anything. Or I remember this about Winston, and I mean, he would light up a room with his laughter or, his smile or anything like that. And I learned that from Dad too, is to be humble. Because, Dad was so proud of me getting in shape and, and trying to be the best person that I could be. And I think it reminded him of himself a little bit in that aspect too. And so I learned that from Dad, is to just sit back and try to be as humble and as quiet as possible and listen. Because like you were just saying, people are addicted to talking. We have 2 ears and 1 mouth. You gotta shut your mouth sometimes.
Yep.
And you gotta be able to listen to people. It doesn't matter if it's a relationship, friendship, a work relationship, listening to your boss, any of those types of things. You have to be able to take a step back and listen for a minute before you move on. So absolutely.
Cool. Now I want to because this is something this is a world that I have no clue about whatsoever, and this is, if you go to your Instagram, a big part of your world, and it's the cosplayer playing all of that. Yeah. Would you please, for myself and then our listeners that have no idea what that is, would you just maybe delve into that a little bit? And I know before we started the podcast, you said this has kind of helped you reach more people.
Absolutely. Through
fitness. So let's talk about that and explain what all this is,
right.
And then how you've been able to reach more people because this is a part of your life with the fitness included.
Absolutely. So a cosplay is just essentially, it's dress up. So think about Halloween, but whenever you go to Comic-Con, or a zombie crawl or any of those types of things where there's some type of costume involved. And so I got into it because of Comic-Con. I've been going to Comic-Con, Denver Comic-Con. I know it's called Pop Culture Con here now, Denver Pop Culture Con, but I still believe it's Comic-Con. It is something I've been going to since the inception here in Colorado.
Now what, I don't want to interrupt, but for myself and the listeners, what's Comic-Con?
Comic-Con is a place, so it's down at the Denver Convention Center, and it is where you go for anything pop culture related, whether it be movies, books, comics, video games, anything and everything that is pop culture related.
Okay.
And it's just all under one roof. So you'll go there, you'll be able to buy some limited edition comics. You'll be able to go there and meet up with absolutely amazing celebrities. Last year, Jason Momoa was here, Ron Perlman was here, and it's great time to be able to just meet people in person. So it is just where everybody from nerddom comes under one roof.
Okay.
And we're all able to enjoy ourselves for 3 days. And just be able to be ourselves, when in all actuality, when we're at work, we're kind of stuck in a box. We can't really let our freak feathers out usually. So I got into cosplay heavily for the past 2 years. The reason being a character from a video game. His name is Kratos from God of War. I've been playing the games since they came out back on PlayStation 2, and then I kept on playing the games up until the new one came out on PS4. 2 years ago, they made an announcement for God of War 4. Kratos, the character from ancient Greece, he moved on to Norse mythology. So in all actuality, what he did was he killed all of the old gods like Zeus and Ares and everything like that, and then he moved on trying to have a normal life with his child in God of War 4. So the announcement came out right before Denver Comic Con. I think it was 2016. And then I found out that Kratos had a beard, and it was just a great aspect for me to be able to keep my beard and cosplay a character that I kind of actually look like, because I cosplayed as Kratos back in the day for a Halloween, maybe about 4 or 5 years before that. So unfortunately, I wasn't able to cosplay as him that year. I cosplayed as buff bearded Finn the Human from Adventure Time, and I also cosplayed as Ash Ketchum, like a very apocalyptic Ash Ketchum. You know, had a beard and torn clothes, and he had a Pikachu and everything like that. So that year, I was like, this is it. This is my character of choice. And there's some people out there that will cosplay as a character because it looks exactly like them.
Okay.
And so I was like Kratos all the way. You know, I shave my head all the time anyways. I get called Kratos at the gym. This is it for me. So, you know, created the axe. This was my first time really, really delving deep into foam work. Foam work is where you take pieces of, you can either do floor foam from like a gym, or you can, you know, work with foam that you can buy from Michael's, really, really, really thin foam, and you make things, armor, weapons, you know, anything and everything that you can make as far as, you know, the character's concerned. So I started working with leather. I started working with, you know, fabric and foam and all those types of things to create this and bring to life this character Kratos. And when I did him that following year, 2017, it was a hit. It was a huge hit. You know, and pictures were taken, and this was just like the first form of it too. The axe was very, very rough. You know, because the game hadn't come out really yet.
Okay.
So I was using screenshots from, you know, the preview to create this character, and it came to life and it did really well. Then 2018 came along and I had refined him even more, you know, rebuilt the axe, you know, did some more to the costume itself, to the paint that was on my body and everything like that. And of course I was in a little bit better shape at that point in time too. It was bigger. So I was able to essentially just encompass that character. It just moved on from there. I changed my Instagram handle from Marcus Aurelius to Colorado Kratos. And then, you know, at Comic-Con, I missed out on all my panels because walking across the floor, pictures were being taken of me constantly, and I wanted to be positive, and I didn't want to get mad that I was missing out on my panels. You know, there might be a kid there. This is his first Comic-Con. I'm going to be nice to anybody and everybody. So that humble feeling of me, like from the gym, kind of came into Comic-Con as well because everybody was loving the character.
Yeah.
So, you know, take pictures with people, talk to them about the cosplay, talk to them about the character itself. It was a great year. 2018 was a great year for Comic-Con. And then after that, you know, I just put a post on Instagram in my story, and I was like, hey, if anybody's interested in the fitness aspect of trying to get into this character, you know, let me know. And I had an outcry just of people being like, yeah, how do you get into that shape? And people that I'd met there were just very, very excited to hear about the fitness aspect of things coming from somebody who feels like one of their own, quote unquote. Instead of just a gym person who is like, oh yeah, I'm in incredible shape, I'm gonna, like, you know, put on some spandex and then, you know, I'm gonna go out to Comic-Con. It was more of like, you definitely became this character.
Right,
how did you get to this point? You know, what was your diet like? What was the workouts? Blah, blah, blah. So that's where the aspect of being able to touch people that I had, you know, met at Comic-Con or met at the gym and they knew me as Kratos or anything like that, and they were just very interested because as far as cosplay is concerned, I tell people it doesn't matter your race, your creed, or, you know, your body type or anything like that. You can cosplay as anybody that you want to, and I've seen incredible cosplays of people who might be not the same race as the character, or I've also seen people who might be overweight or skinny that cosplay as a character, and it's just a very, very welcoming feeling whenever you're in Comic-Con to be able to be, I'm this character. I might not look like them day to day, but I feel like this character today, and I feel like I stepped into the character. And I wanted people to get that too. Hey, you know, body positivity is a thing. You can, of course, cosplay as any character as you want to, but if you have any questions about fitness or diet, and you want to look more like a character, you know, through fitness, I'm here to help out. And so I started touching more and more on that aspect too, being able to reach out to folks and, you know, give them some tips or pointers on, you know, whether it be diet or, you know, small things like supplementation or, you know, even workouts as well. So I've been trying to do that as much as possible.
It's awesome, man. I see, and that's why I love meeting new people, connecting with new people, and having, you know, the platform for them to share their story, because this is something. I mean, we have the fitness thing. You and I have the fitness thing in common, but again, like this whole cosplaying and, you know, the kind of the video game Comic-Con thing, that is so far outside of my world, and I have like no personal interest in that. Right. But it's so cool that we can have at least one thing in common, the fitness thing. Right. But then you have this area in life where it's like, man, this is also my jam. This is also something I'm passionate about, and because of that. And with the fitness combined, you're reaching people and positively impacting them in that world where it's, you know, probably a lot of those people, maybe I'm overstepping if I am, tell me, but probably a lot of those people probably aren't really into fitness a whole lot, right? I mean, their jam, their main focus in life is probably the video games and the dressing up and all that. And here's a guy that's well-rounded, and you are into fitness, you have a great physique, you take that very seriously, but then you step into that world as well. So you're kind of, like we've been talking about, showing those people like, hey, you know, there's more than this part of life. And the dressing up and the video games and the Comic-Con, all that, there's fitness, there's all these other aspects. So I love how you are being an example, you're being someone to follow, Mark, not only in the fitness world, but also in this cosplaying world. And it sounds like people are reaching out to you, and you're able to give them that fitness, nutrition, workout advice, and they're respecting you because you're in both worlds. Right. So that's cool, man.
Trying to bridge the gap.
Absolutely, yeah.
And you know, I posted something on my story. It was actually just about my water bottle about a couple weeks back, and my water bottle's covered in you know, a bunch of anime stickers and just stickers all over it. And you know, somebody, you know, came into my to my direct messages, my DMs, and was like, you know what, it's so cool that you're just so open about who you are. Instead of in there, it's vice versa. So you'll have somebody who might be into cosplay and might be into, you know, all those things as well, and, you know, Dungeons and Dragons and all those things, who might be embarrassed to say that they're into fitness. And then there's the vice versa, where it's like somebody who's really into fitness who might be embarrassed to say that they're into D&D and into video games and into comic books and cosplay. And so he's like, you know, it might not seem like a lot to you, Mark, but it's really cool to know that you're so proud of who you are.
Right.
And so proud of, you know, the nerdy side of yourself as well. And I just take pride in the fact that I know you, and that you're just taking those steps to let people know that, hey, this is an aspect of my life beyond fitness as well. Mm-hmm. So absolutely.
So Mark, we've been going for over an hour, so we're going to start kind of winding things down. There's a few other things I want to touch on here. So just what you just mentioned, kind of like you knowing who you are. Let's because this is big for me personally, and I think this is something that a lot of adults don't know, and that's their purpose, having vision for their life, what they're passionate about, and the direction that they're supposed to be taking. Because I see so many adults that are literally just going through the motions. Yeah. It's the same thing day after day after day, just to pay the bills, to make it through, and all this. So for you as a man, what is the importance of having that purpose and that path to walk down and moving down that path with that purpose in mind, having that vision, that passion with everything that you have? What does that mean to you, and what's the importance of that for you as Mark?
So it's important because, I'll be honest, for a long period of time, even after college, I was like, I don't know what I want to be when I grow up. Okay, and that's, as an adult saying that on a day-to-day basis, because you're going into a job that you're not happy about, that is just paying the bills. It might be great money, but you might not be happy on a day-to-day basis. And finally getting to that point where I quit corporate America after 5.5 years working in a job that I had been in for a long period of time. It was kind of a godsend that our entire department was laid off.
Okay.
Left a bad taste in my mouth because I'm like, I give you guys 5.5 years. You couldn't even give me a job. You couldn't even put me into another position. You just laid us off and said, hey, you have to apply for new jobs within this company instead of us actually giving you a position because you put in 5.5 years. So I got to that point where I was like, you know what? Fitness has been such a mainstay in my life. Why don't I focus on that? And I have a business partner. His name is Wes. And we've been talking about this idea for a long period of time of opening up a gym, but not a normal gym. Don't get me wrong, like we love normal gyms, but they open up here in Colorado on a day-to-day basis. Okay, you have your CrossFit boxes that are opening up all the time, your performance gyms and Vassas and 24s and Crunch Fitnesses that are opening up constantly.
Yeah.
We wanted to open up a gym that was focusing on an at-risk youth program. So being able to touch at-risk youth in a positive way, because fitness has a way to be able to change people's lives, release endorphins, do those types of things to make, you get your mind off of what might be happening at home. These kids deal with more things on a day-to-day basis than we even know about. Whether it be their lights are off at home, their parents are going through some things right now, whether it be drugs or any of those types of things. They might not have food on the table. The only way they're able to eat is whenever they're at school.
Right.
And the only reason they're showing up to school is because, the lights are on there, there's heat on, and they're able to eat food there. So we want to be able to touch their lives in a different way as well. To be able to be like, yeah, life might be absolute crap right now for you. But come on down to this gym. We're going to be able to help you. Whether it be you work through, a workout with us, but we're talking to you the entire time about what's going on at home. We'll have counselors on site, those types of things as well. And being able to just be able to touch those people on a day-to-day basis. Wes wants to be able to touch a different aspect, people that have gone through a rehab or are currently going through a rehab program. He lost a sister to an overdose. So people that have gone through a rehab program or dealing with drug or substance issues is something that's very important to him. My dad was the one who worked with at-risk youth down at Juvenile Hall. That's been embedded on me to be able to touch their lives if I can. And then Wes working with the people that are in the rehab programs too. So this is the gym that we want to work with. You come on down, you talk to counselors, you talk to us, as trainers, and we're able to help you out. Also, I have another business partner. His name is Benjamin. We are starting a clothing line, a fitness clothing line.
Cool.
But a fitness clothing line with a message. It's called Wolfheart Clothing Ltd. Obviously, some of my tattoos are with wolves and foxes and those types of things. When you are in the gym, the only person that matters is you. And there's that wolf mentality. Now, I know wolves travel in packs, but there's always sometimes a lone wolf.
Right.
And the only person that is going to be mattering and the only hurdles that you're going to be able to get over are yourself. And so Wolfheart Clothing is a fitness clothing line with that message of you're in here, you're doing hard work, not for anybody else, but for yourself. And so those two things have started to come to fruition after about 2 years of work. I've been talking to investors, those types of things as well. So what do I want to be when I grow up? It took me until 2 years ago to realize this is what I want to be. This has been a mainstay in my life. Fitness has been here. This is what I'm good at. You'll come and talk to me about, an IT job, and I'm like, yeah, I'll tell you, go Google it, or something like that. I know this is my job, but go Google it, or I'll tell you, like in a 10-minute spiel, what you need to do. But you come up to my desk and say, hey, Mark, I know you're in shape. what do you do, man? What is it that, drives you? And I'll talk to you for 2-3 hours at a time while I work on the clock about this. It took a long period of time to figure out what I wanted to do. And so that's what it is. And it's a very, very, very scary thing to think of, hey, I'm in my 30s now. What did I want to be when I grew up? Yeah, I have a degree, but what do I want to do? What do I want to do? And it's so scary to just be stuck in that rut of like waking up every day and just hating your life.
Right.
Or waking up every day and thinking of, how can I not go to work today? What can I do to not be there? I'm not happy. I'm not happy. It's a paycheck, yes, but I'd rather sacrifice this paycheck to be emotionally and physically happy and just in a better place in my life. So it took a long period of time to get to this point, and me getting out of corporate America and everything like that, just to start to focus on fitness, has been something that's been helpful for emotional help for me as well.
So to kind of tie the knot with that and finish it up, purpose, you have found is everything for you, and putting that gasoline on the fire that burns within your heart is really what is moving you forward today and in the future, right?
Absolutely.
Cool.
It is. It's something that will drive you. And to find something that will make you happy rather than a paycheck. We're not supposed to pay bills until we die.
Right.
Let's be honest. Our parents were strong human beings to be able to stick it out in a job for 40 years and get their retirement and then retire. Nowadays, especially here in Colorado, I like to call it the Colorado hustle. A lot of us millennials and folks that are like 34 and under are at that point where we're like, we don't want to work for corporate America. We want to work for ourselves. You know what I mean?
Yep. Right there with you.
So we've gotten to that point where it's like, what can we do to make ourselves happy? And just like that saying is, you find something that you love and are passionate about, you will never work a day in your life.
Right. Yep.
You will constantly be like, I am ripping and roaring to go every day. I am smiling as soon as I walk out the door.
For sure.
I'm singing in the car. I walk in the door and I'm happy. Instead of just that humdrum existence of paycheck to paycheck, paying bills until you die.
For sure.
So absolutely. Man.
So I think 2 more questions here.
Sure.
We'll just try to make them short, and then we'll end things. But is there an area in your life right now that you are striving to improve in? And that could be physically, mentally, spiritually, emotionally. Is there some area, or is there something that is a weakness for Mark, and you either are moving in the direction of improving it, or that you need to start taking those steps to improve that area?
That's an amazing question. I just actually started to come to a conclusion as to what that was relatively recently. Something that's very important to me, especially with the building blocks that I've had as a child, was a relationship. And like I said, I've been in very, very long relationships for a long period of time. And finally coming to the consensus that, wow, what's going on? Why am I constantly pushing away? And I'm talking about pushing good gals away too. So something that I really, really need to work on, after my parents passed, was communication. And communication works in relationships as well as, every other aspect of your life as
Absolutely.
well. So communication has been something that I've been kind of trying to focus on, because I know it will get me to that end goal, which is, of course, the wife and the kids and, the picket fences or whatever it might be. So I needed to start to work on communication, because it was so important to me to be able to communicate my feelings, communicate what is important to me, instead of kind of being a doormat to that very macho, I need to be quiet and, I need to not, let my feelings out and those types of things as well. So communication and trying to find a very, very meaningful relationship in my life has been something that's been very important fitness has been a pillar for such a long period of time. That's great. That's a definitely strong pillar. How can I transfer that hard work and hard work ethic into something else as well? And a lot of self-love has, I've tried to, bring that forth as well, and work on those things. So communication, relationship goals, and definitely working on, and not being so mean to myself all the time.
Right.
Obviously fitness has a tendency to make you always try to compare yourself to other folks. And I'm not trying to bring that aspect into every other portion of my life as well. So definitely, long story short, get into that communication aspect, which will also work in other aspects of my life, whether it be relationship, self-love, so on and so forth too.
I just want to ask you something in regards to the relationship thing.
Sure.
Do you feel like at this point, this stage in your life, Mark, that you want to share life with somebody? Because,
Absolutely.
and I ask that, and the only way that I can ask that is because that's something for me, as a single guy, early 30s, is like, I've been very, I do my own thing.
Right.
I've kind of always been that way. Yes, I played sports and all that was around, but throughout most of my 20s, and even, when I was younger, I did my own thing, kind of my way. I've always been that free spirit, kind of just like, if everybody's going to the right, I'm going to go to the left,
Absolutely.
and a lot of times I have separated myself from people because I don't want to be like them. I don't want to live like them. I don't want to go in that direction.
Right.
And that's important. But for me, at this stage of my life, I am like, okay, I've done my thing my way, and I've had all these amazing life experiences a lot of the times by myself, and there's a time and a place for all that. But now it's like, dude, like it's a lot more enjoyable if you can share life with other people,
right.
and specifically somebody else where it's like, an intimate relationship where it's like, hey, let's go to Boulder for the day. Let's just enjoy life together. So is that kind of what's in your heart too? It's like, hey, I've done my thing my way.
Absolutely.
It's all cool. I want to continue to improve. I want to keep moving forward, but I don't want to I don't want to be the lone wolf anymore. I want to have that helpmate or that person to share my life with. Can you attest to that?
Absolutely.
Okay, cool.
Absolutely. And I mean, I have, just like you have, done it my way for a long period of time. And that leads to those stubborn aspects of your life where you're just like, no, I need to do it this way, and you gave me a red flag, I'm leaving. And that's why I've been pushing a lot of really, really good women out of my life because of that whole, like, I need to do it this way, and it's my way or the highway. But in all actuality, it needs to be flipped around to where it's like, okay, I need to compromise.
For sure.
Any relationship, whether it be a friendship, work relationship, or an actual relationship itself with a significant other, is about compromise. And you need to get to that point where you're like, okay, I can listen to you. Let me take a step back. And it also allows for you to learn new things, learn new aspects of somebody's life, and experience new things too. So it's definitely something that, needed to be worked on for a long period of time too. That lone wolf mentality, the reason why I got these tattoos in the first place, they represent my father, yes, but I affiliate myself with a wolf. And, when my parents passed, I pushed a lot of people out of my life because I was trying to be that lone wolf, strong by myself, a strong pillar by myself, when in all actuality, I need to let people in and become more of a pack.
Right.
So, the wolves, the lone wolves, they can make it out there, they can feed themselves and everything like that. But for longevity and for a long life, most wolves will travel in that pack, and they'll travel in that pack until the end of their days. So.
Awesome. And thanks for being just open, real, and transparent, because it's powerful stuff, man. When we're just like, hey, you know what? I'm going to step in the light. Here I am. You can buy it or you don't have to buy it. That's your thing, but this is who I am. Dude, it's powerful, and I love it. So thank you for sharing. So Mark, what's your final thoughts for myself, for the listeners, that you kind of just want to leave us with in wrapping things up for the 127 Fit podcast today?
So back to the main point that we kind of touched on in the beginning, keep pushing through. You might have so many different aspects in your life that will make you just a negative person. And, I don't like to equate, whatever kind of struggles that you have in the world to other people's struggles. There's always that saying that a lot of people say, well, other people have it worse off than you. We don't know how people, grieve. We don't know how people deal with conflict in their life. We don't know how, people deal with anything and everything in their life. And, it might be something small to you, but somebody might be struggling with something. To be able to just get back to that main point of keep pushing through, don't give up. I was in a dark place where I was about to give up. My parents being gone, and more specifically my father dying, it really just hit me so hard. And then getting to that point where I was like, man, I need to take a step back and I need to figure out what I can do to push through and what I can do to get through day-to-day life, communicating with people, talking to people, writing things down, whatever it might be. And it could be, the gym was a very, 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 very pivotal part of that as well for me, to be able to go in and say, hey, today was a complete and total utter failure of a day, and I'm not happy. I'm in a really, really dark place. Going into the gym and powering through a workout or some cardio or anything like that, you got to push through. That is something that will help you and will make you a stronger individual overall. So anything and everything leads back to that point, and it can be small tasks, be huge tasks. You just have to continue to push through.
Love it, man.
So yeah, that's what I would. That's my little nugget of gold for your listeners.
Very cool, man. Thank you.
Man. Yeah,
appreciate it. And
absolutely.
If somebody wants to reach out to you, what's the best way that they can get a hold of you?
So best means of contacting me is actually through my Instagram page. It's Colorado _Kratos. Kratos is spelled Kratos. You can hit me up on my DMs, or it's got my email on there. My email is marchill8416@gmail.com. Feel free to reach out to me. At any point in time, things are falling into place as far as the gym and the fitness clothing line is concerned. If you want to just talk about fitness, if you want to talk about the cosplay community, or you just want to talk in general because you've dealt with loss or some major things in your life, and you want to reach out to somebody and be able to chat with them, I am more than willing to be able to do so.
Awesome.
So yeah, those are two great ways.
And you're located in the Denver area, right?
I am. I'm located
Cool.
in Aurora, Colorado. I am constantly at the gym all the time. I go to pretty much Vasa and 24-hour fitness, so you might see me there. So yeah, that's where I'm located. So
awesome, man. Well, I just want to thank you again, Mark, for your time today. I appreciate you again being transparent, open, touching on kind of the aspect of the family and the importance of your mom and dad, your upbringing, and then just the transition of losing the weight, and just I feel like our conversation today was definitely not just focused in one area, but it was very broad.
Absolutely.
and it covered a lot of things because
sure.
You're a well-rounded individual, and so I feel just like it was just an awesome interview. So thank you again for your time.
Absolutely.
And for hanging out today with myself and the listeners. So.
Oh, for sure. And I appreciate you, man. Thank you so much for your time.
Absolutely. Yep, for sure. So listeners, I just want to thank you so much once again for your time today, for tuning into the 127 Fit podcast. If you would like to reach out to me, you can reach me at on Instagram at 127 Fitness. Also on Facebook, it's at Quentin Vars. My website, which is just blogs, is 127fitness.com. And if you guys could do me a huge favor with all of these podcast episodes, if you could start just liking, subscribing, sharing, and then most importantly, especially within iTunes, leaving a review, leaving a 5-star review, that would be great. That just helps in the podcast world for people to find the podcast more and be able to listen to these awesome guests that I'm having the opportunity to have on the podcast. So also, I will leave you just with my email, which is 127fit@gmail.com. If you think you would be an awesome guest for this podcast, Hit me up if you have maybe some friends or some acquaintances or some people in the state of Colorado that you think would be great guests. Please just send me an email with their names and things of that nature, and I will get in touch with you or them. And then, per usual, I will leave you with Proverbs 24:10, which states, "If you faint in the day of adversity, your strength is small." This time, until next time, I will catch you guys later.